Hi,
Hey, Mike.
Heather.
How are you?
It's
How,
good, Heather. As
doing good.
always,
Thank you. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Yeah, a little
Cool.
bit bored, but I'm fine.
What's new with you?
Not very much. I climbed Mount Charleston.
Oh,
I'm proud to say yesterday. Um, and yeah, let's see. Oh, I took an IQ test
oh, cool.
on on Monday,
Uh-huh.
and the reason I took it was I am hoping to get into Mensa.
Ha! Cool.
Oh, I will tell you how I did next week.
Oh, I gotta wait next week. I
Mhm.
wanted to know now.
Well, I can tell you about the test now,
Yeah,
but
tell me about the test.
okay, so it's called, I write about it in my newsletter,
Mhm.
but let me, hold on.
Okay.
Let me, let
If
me tell you some details. I have it written down here.
okay.
Um, okay. Okay, it's called the Welsher Adult Intelligence Scale, abbreviated to just WAIS. Um, and there's a Wikipedia page about it. And it's, I think, one of two really common, like, official IQ tests. And so I went to this place near the Summerlin Costco, and they said to allow 2 hours for it, but I got through it in 90 minutes. And I think it was 9 different things. And the whole time it was just me and the proctor, who I guess is a psychologist. And I was expecting it to be multiple choice, but no, it was most of it was just verbal. Like, he would tell you like a verbal math problem, and you had to solve it in your head and then give him the answer as fast as you could. And there were other things that were just like there would be 2 symbols in one column and 5 in another column, and you had to identify whether at least one of the 2 symbols in the left column was in the right column as fast as you could. You had to do as many as you get through as many as you possibly could. And another one that was just basically general knowledge, like who was Catherine the Great, and name at least 3 veins in the body. Who was Sacagawea, and another part that was there were like these dice, but they were just colors on them, either white, red, or a mixture of white and red, and you had to use these blocks to create designs that the proctor showed you. And yeah, after 90 minutes of it, my brain was just so fried. Um, and yeah, but yeah, to get in Mensa, you need, I think they call it like the full scale score. I think you get a bunch of different scores, but the full scale score is like the overall score, and that needs to be at least 130, which indicates you're in the top 2%.
Okay, cool. Right on.
Yeah, so I failed the Mensa test, I think 11 years ago. So
Do you remember what your score was?
no, when I took it
Okay.
before, I took it directly from Mensa, and they will only tell you pass or fail.
Oh, okay.
And they just said fail, but the woman who gave me the test encouraged me to take it again, but I just never did until Monday. And
Okay.
I also write about the whole thing in my newsletter that came out today.
So how if someone wants to read that, how would they go about reading that?
I know that if you go to my website, in fact, let me do that now to see how far back we publish them. Hold on. So
While you're doing that, I did a IQ test when I was in college, and I got 115.
Not bad.
Yeah.
And were you happy with that score?
Oh goodness, no. I wanted to retake it. I'm like, let me do that again. First time shouldn't count.
I paid $250 to take mine.
Oh wow. I don't think I paid anything. It was a part of the UNLV
Mm-hmm.
program. I think they were doing UNLV, like when you're a student there, there's a lot of stuff on campus where it's like, oh, take this test or take this quiz, or we need this for a study or a survey or blah, 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 and we'll pay you, or, it's free and you get to know this or that. Well, it was one of those things where it's like, do this and you'll get to know your IQ score for free and you don't have to pay for it. And we're doing it for like a study or a survey or something. Mm-hmm. So that's how I went about taking that.
Okay, well, I know at the Mensa website, they have an unofficial test. And I don't think the unofficial test gives you a number, but I think that they kind of tell you in words how well you did and whether you have a shot at getting in. So, and I did that, and they encouraged, those results were good. So, but anyway, to go backwards, if you go to wizardofodds.com/newsletter, you will get a list of all my old newsletters, and they are not in order for some reason. So the one that came out today about the Mensa test is titled "Get the Dunce Cap Ready Again," and it's 4th from the top.
Cool. I'm looking forward to reading that.
Okay, well, enough about that. Do we have any forum questions? I mean, any live audience question? And if I forgot to say so, hello, audience. Thanks for coming.
And by the way, if you're watching, if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the comments and we will answer it. We have a lot of questions from both the viewers and from the forum. So let's get started. Our first one is from Mystical Child. I didn't say your name wrong this time. Mystical Child. A buddy of mine recently lost his casino credit line and can't pay it back in one shot. He told them he wanted to do a payment plan. Can they take him to court if he agreed to pay them? Also, will they suspend his account? He and I go every week, and I didn't want a line of credit for this exact reason. Thank you for your time and attention.
I happen to know somebody that is also in the studio audience, knows a lot about this, but I will let him or her indicate that if they want to. But here's what I know, and it's largely from this person's experience, is, okay, I don't know how negotiable the casino will be, but I think they will be negotiable if you say, you're gonna have to have me arrested if you don't agree to a payment plan. And the casino ultimately wants their money. That's their first priority, and I think just seeking justice is second. So I can't speak for them for sure, but I think they would be open to discussing it. And if you can't come to a deal or they just say no, then they will indeed probably put out a warrant for your arrest. And here in Nevada, they take that warrant seriously. And it's a felony to not honor casino credit. But then I think that, but then you will go to the courts, and the courts will want to make a payment plan because they want the casino to get paid, and they don't want you to hog up space in jail. So yeah, but if possible, I would try to resolve the problem with the casino before it goes to an arrest warrant.
Good advice.
But yeah, I would definitely not try to run away from this. And if you did try to run away from it, I would not live in Nevada, and I wouldn't even set foot here because yeah, not honoring a marker is serious business here.
Okay.
That's my answer.
Very cool. On the next question, this is from Big Boy. Just wanted to know, is there anything important as a table game player that I should know regarding comps? Maybe a few tips or tricks. I am aware of the book Comp City, but I have not read it. The last time I was at a casino, I asked why my card didn't have comps on it, and they just wrote me up a comp. Didn't know, I just had to ask. So much, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay. My tip number one is make a big first bet, whatever you're comfortable with. Because Heather, you could probably speak to this better than me, but when you buy in it at a table, almost always the floorman will come over and watch the buy-in. And I think that another thing that they do is they are looking to see what is your first bet. And it happens a lot that that's what they put in the computer as your average bet, and they just don't touch it. And however, you know, in case they do kind of try to do a sampling as you're playing of what your average bet is, if you see that the floorman is coming over, that's another good time to increase your bet. And granted, you can't have full control over this because lots of times you'll be in the middle of a hand and the floorman will walk over and notice what everybody is betting. But if you can try to just appear to be bigger betting when you're getting watched, that will help. Also take a lot of breaks, like you're going to the bathroom or taking a call. That way that house edge won't grind you down as fast.
That's a really good, I like that one. Yeah. That's a really good tip.
and Heather, I look forward to your comments, but yeah, those are my two main suggestions.
Okay.
Heather, what's your 2 cents?
What I could add to the conversation is, as a casino dealer, what would happen a lot of times when I was dealing a table game was the floor supervisor would come over and he'd be like, you know, how much does this guy average bet? You know, or what's the average for this dude's bet? And I'd be like, oh, I don't know, around 50, around 75, somewhere around there. So that's something to think about as well. Also, too, tipping your dealer might help, because then the dealer might tell the floorman you have a bigger bet than you might actually be playing. So that might be like a, you know, a trick that they could try. But yeah, as a casino dealer, we would have to report how much they bought in for and what their average was to play. And that was a normal thing for us.
And when do you tell the floorman what the average bet is? Because I never see that being asked at the table.
When he actually has time, because usually he's running around like a chicken with his head cut off. They give him way too many tables to watch. It used to be 4 tables, and now it's like something crazy like 8 or 9. It's the same. So just whenever they get a chance, when they're doing the cards.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Heather.
No, thank you. Thank you for answering that.
Good question. This was recently discussed on my forum, by the way.
And that is Wizard of Vegas, right?
Yep.
So if they want to go see it, they could go check it out, wizardofvegas.com.
Yeah. I mean, perhaps it was the same person who brought that up at the forum. I don't remember.
Maybe. So next up is from another viewer, and this is from Trey. My state is about to approve online sports betting, but with a minimum hold, i.e. negative 125. Do you have any advice for casual bettors to overcome or manage this juice?
Sorry about that phone ringing. So the minimum hold that's just terrible. So they're saying that it's going to be at least minus 125 and possibly more. Minimum hold. Is that how you interpret it, Heather?
Sports betting is not my thing.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be able to interpret this.
Yeah, so I would just not play with such a big, what I would call house advantage. So yeah, like on if it was minus 125 both ways, then doing some quick math here.
So while you're doing the math, the one thing I know about sports betting was in the 90s, they would actually loop the horse races, and some people became wise to this. So some people would sit in the sportsbook area and record all of the races for 24 hours. And then when the loop started over, they would start betting on all the winning horses. And when the casinos finally figured out that's what they were doing, they had to put a stop to that. So what did you come up with your math?
Okay, let's see. Let me get some paper here.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought you were done.
No, I don't know why this is taking me so long.
While you're doing that, let's go through some of these viewer comments.
Okay.
So Anne said that she got 119 when she was tested in college. That's pretty good. We're on the same level. Yes. Another thing is Mystical Child. Thank you for saying my name right.
Yes. Okay. That's a 10% house advantage, which
10%.
10%. Yeah, that's really high. So I would not do any really serious sports betting with that much juice taken out. Bet really small if you must bet at all. And if you like sports betting, to be honest with you, if you're not bothered by any legalities of it, I would bet online. You know, it's so easy to do, to make a Bitcoin deposit at lots of different places, and you can enjoy minus 110 juice, if not better than that. So yeah, that's my advice there.
A lot of casinos have their sportsbook on apps now. It's so easy to use your phone and make a bet on your phone through those apps.
Yeah. Like here in Nevada, I don't know the legality of every single state, but yeah, minus 125 really bothers me.
Yeah. So going to the next one. Is Baccarat a beatable game? There are a lot of systems going around on the internet with nope.
Nope, not without basically a calculator, which a casino would consider a cheating device.
If you went to a table with a calculator, they consider that going to a table with a cheating device?
Not like a normal calculator, but basically if you had like an app that tracked every single rank left in the shoe and calculated the exact odds of every bet, and like alerted you when one of them was positive, then sometimes late in the shoe you would have an advantage. And they do this in Macau, where it's not illegal to use a device. But it's a felony here. So the short answer is no. Baccarat is just not beatable, unless it's some sort of advantage play or cheating. Straight up, it is not beatable.
Okay. Good question. Good answer. So our next one, since we've done so many from the chat, from the viewers, let's take a couple to the forum. Our very first forum question is from Gillimere, and this is, my daughter has expressed an interest in getting married in Vegas. As locals, do you or Heather have any insight or advice on the do's and don'ts of throwing a Las Vegas wedding?
Yeah, I was married here in Vegas. And the pros and cons are really obvious. The pros are it's super convenient. If you don't want to plan a whopping big wedding, you can be married in probably 2 hours here. You have to go to the courthouse to get the license, and then if it's any day but like Valentine's Day, there are so many wedding chapels that will probably marry you immediately. So it is so easy and convenient. But the downside is also obvious, is that you're not going to have likely any good memories to look back on. It's like going to a bank. It's so simple and sterile and routine. So, I mean, everyone has to look at their own situation. But I think that for most people, I would recommend against it. I think that you should include the people who you're close to in your life in this big event. And it doesn't need to be a huge number like 500. You could limit it to just like 50 or 25. But I think that it's something that you probably should share with the other people in your life. And but again, this is just average advice. It's not appropriate for everybody. But I would really encourage anyone to really think twice about doing that. So there's my 2 cents.
Cool. So my 2 cents is, again, it really just depends on you and what you want. There's several different ways to get married here in Las Vegas. You could, on one end of the spectrum, you could do a drive-through wedding downtown at one of the chapels. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you could do like a really gorgeous, beautiful chapel wedding at the Bellagio with 1 million flowers that cost $500,000. You know, so it really just depends on like what you're looking for. I know a lot of people have a hard time flying everyone here to Las Vegas, but I agree with you on what you said before. It's really easy, really simple, really fast to get married here. A friend of mine did the drive-through chapel, and she did the courthouse and the drive-through chapel in less than an hour. So it's super easy. And then same with divorces. Las Vegas is great for divorces. Just want to throw that out there for people who are doing the drive-through and, you know, all the chapels and everything out there. So we're one of the easiest places to get a divorce as well.
Yeah, interestingly, Nevada has, I think, the highest marriage and divorce rate per capita.
I don't doubt that. One bit.
Yeah, but that's a good suggestion that if you want to take a middle ground and want to get married here, but have it a little bit more of a spectacle. Yeah, every casino has a whole like wedding department that will probably plan any wedding for any budget and any number of people. And they probably do it all day long. So they're, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't think of anything else to add on that topic.
Yep. No, me neither. Just that there's plenty of shops where you could buy wedding gowns and wedding rings. And as long as money's not an object, you could get whatever you want. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was going to say that when I ran the Las Vegas Marathon, which went right down Las Vegas Boulevard all the way to downtown, at least one of the wedding chapels, kind of in that wedding chapel area around the Pawn Stars pawn shop, did run through wedding ceremonies.
Okay. Yeah. And I know some of them you could be married by Elvis. You could be married by like whoever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Pick something. You'll have an impersonator that could do it for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So going back to our viewer questions, our next question comes from Casey Highroller. Plan on retiring in a few years. Would like to play video poker on a regular basis. Any advice that you could give me? What kind of bankroll would I need to do this? So if you're going to retire and you just want to go to a casino and play video poker, how much are you expected to spend per month? Just for fun.
What your goal is. Your goal should not be to make a profit at it, because video poker is really just quite stingy now, and you know, you would need to make practically a full-time job out of it and have an enormous bankroll to just make a little bit of money. But you can basically I would say that if you consider the value of the mail and the comps, you can break even in video poker at least. So it would be, if you're basically just looking for a hobby to kill the time, then yeah, it kind of depends how much money you have and what you're looking to get out of it. But I think that if you play the best games and play them properly at a level that you're comfortable with, I think, and are smart about playing during promotions and things like that, then you can get back more than you give the casinos, but it's going to be a really marginal difference. So that's about as far as I can take that, given the information that was given.
The only thing that I can add to that might help is thinking about my grandmother and thinking about another woman who was in that age group who would, you know, go out and gamble. Mm-hmm. I know that, they were on, you know, Social Security. They had no money, you know, that kind of thing. Like the bus would come and pick them up, and they would go, and it was like a once a week type of a thing from their retirement home. And my grandmother would spend anywhere from $50 to $100. I think it was every 2 weeks, it was about $50 to $100 she'd spend. And then the woman who was close to me who would do that would spend about $20 per week. And they would find, a really low slot machine, and they would play for a couple hours, and they would win just enough that they could play just a little bit more next week. And they would be able to still gamble on a budget and have fun and enjoy themselves. So from my experience, that's what I can add to that.
Yeah, I agree that, there are so many locals casinos here that are just full of retired people that are probably living on a fixed income, and they probably sit there and play all day long. So if you're going to do that, you may as well lose as little as you possibly can, meaning play video poker, not slots and not video keno, and then play the good games and play the good pay tables and play your cards right and look for those promotions. And just playing a little bit smart, you can save so much money. I mean, I think you can break even as opposed to losing, say, $100 to $200 a day. So who wouldn't want to do that?
And I know those promotions are really big in the retirement community. I had a couple people that would bug me for my mail just so they could get the $5 buffet at Texas Station or something.
Yeah, and I also think if you're looking for just a time killer way to gamble, I think bingo is also a good way to go. But it's really important to buy the right kind of cards and to avoid all the sucker bets like validating. And just no matter what you do, play smart.
Very cool. So next up is from another viewer. This is from Paul Andrews. Welcome back. Love you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
I realize all side bets are sucker bets. Do you have any suggestions for a do-it-yourself betting system like parlays that can give you a big, low-cost payoff with a reasonable edge?
I'm like reading the question here. Okay, well, here's what I've said before is rather than making side bets, you can kind of make your own side bet. Like, say to yourself, like, let's say you're making even money bets in Baccarat. And let's say that you normally bet $10 a hand. Once in a while, you can say, okay, here's my regular $10 bet, and I'm going to bet an extra, say, $5. And no matter what, I'm going to let this $5 ride, say, 6 times, or go bust trying. So if that happens, that would be 2 to the 6th power times 5. So that $5 would have turned into 320. So that's kind of like a side bet. So just force yourself to some kind of like you just said, like a parlay, but not for like the full bet amount, just for like a part of it that you are putting aside as your side bet money. So that's my advice.
That's really good. So next up is from Demon Leon. I'm new to gambling and trying to get into blackjack. Is there any online resource to find the specific rules for my local casino before going there myself? Thanks a bunch.
At Wizard of Vegas, we endeavor to at least keep track of all the rules in Las Vegas. But if you go to the current Blackjack newsletter, and let me Google this to tell you the exact address.
While you're Googling it and looking for that, another thing too is if you're in a remote area where, say you have a tribal casino near you, feel free to always call the casino and ask them what they have. That's not a big deal. They'll tell you.
Before I moved here, I found casinos were kind of annoyed when they got questions.
Oh, I guess I just don't realize that anymore. I just call them and annoy them all the time, and I just don't realize it.
I've had bad experiences doing that. But okay, so if you go to bj21.com, and that's the current Blackjack newsletter, and they endeavor to have the Blackjack rules at every casino in the United States and I think Canada as well. But
That's
You
cool.
have to pay for the newsletter.
Mm.
So, and in all fairness, that is owned by the same person that owns my website. So maybe my suggestion is a little biased, but I have said this is a great newsletter for many, many years. It was started by Stanford Wong, and they do a really good job of keeping track of all the rules, and they have, people that that they assign for certain areas. So the information is at least really accurate. So if you do a lot of shopping around for the best rules, it's a really good resource.
Sounds good. Okay, so next up is from Miami Boy, and he says, how does the electronic 3-2 blackjack work? Can you do a simple ace count, or is it essentially a constant shuffle?
It's essentially a constant shuffle. Or I know that one brand, the Shuffle Master, like the big screen ones, they shuffle at a certain point, but they don't tell you when they're shuffling. But yeah, my short answer is just assume that they shuffle after every hand.
Okay. So next up, we're going to view this as more funny than serious.
Mm-hmm.
Paul says, can you take some of the COVID-19 data, twist the numbers around to make some scary headlines and predictions? I need to scare my brother into caring.
It's possible to paint almost any picture with statistics. And
That's true. It just depends on how you interpret it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could like cherry pick a date where the cases and the deaths started to get really bad again, which was probably about 3 weeks ago, and say, oh, if we followed this increase in the number of daily cases or daily deaths, and you can probably see that it's an exponential relationship. You can say that if you follow this curve, we will all be dead by the end of the year. So, but what that doesn't tell you is that not everyone dies from it. In fact, a pretty small percentage do.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Cool. Next up is from Miami Boy again, and he says, what is your choice of Washington football team names? Red Tails and Hogs were interesting to me. So they're going to change.
Like Hogs of the two.
Hogs?
Yeah. I don't think many people know what a red tail is. I think it is a reference to like a particular kind of aviator in World War II or something like that.
Oh, okay. I was thinking a bird.
Hogs. The Washington Hogs. Yeah, I would have to go with Hogs between those two, but I'm sure that if there were other choices, I would probably go with something other than those two. And by the way, you can have the same discussion is the UNLV is dropping the Running Rebels.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're going to have a new one too.
Yeah. And do you know why we're dropping it?
I do. I found out, and that surprised the crap out of me. I was really, I didn't realize that
Would
was
you
our
like
history.
to tell us why?
Oh God. I didn't. So I watched a couple local news reports on this. So I'm not sure if I'm getting all of the information correct, but when our Running Rebel logo was created, it was created in the image of a Confederate, or it was like, it had something to do with the Confederacy. And they don't want that link between the Confederacy and Running Rebels. And that's why they took the statue down, and that's why they're changing it, which I never realized that was like a part of our UNLV history. When I was a student there at UNLV, I just thought, oh, we got like a cowboy because, Wild West, but I didn't realize all the history behind it.
But do you know why we would even have a Confederate mascot?
Tell me. I have no idea.
Understanding that UNR came first, and UNLV was kind of like a split off from UNR. And I think it was not exactly an amicable division. And so that they kind of thought of themselves as like seceding from UNR, or seceding from Northern Nevada. And since they were seceding from the North, they drew up this comparison to a rebel,
Okay.
and, that's what the Southerners were called in the Civil War. Is I'm sure they were called lots of things, but rebels were one of them. So, well, I would hope that we pick something that's gaming related, or maybe even mining related, as opposed to something generic like sharks or something like that. In fact, I've heard sharks kicked around, and I know that's a reference to, I think, our coach Jerry Tarkanian, but that's going so far back. And what does a city in the desert, hundreds of miles from the ocean, have anything to do with like a real shark?
Yeah.
So.
And on the same topic too, McCarran Airport, they're changing the name of McCarran, aren't they?
If they are, that's news to me.
Oh, okay. I heard that they were looking into changing the name of that.
Yeah, I know that's named after a former senator of Nevada, but yeah, I know nothing about that.
Okay. So
Okay.
our next question is from Mark. Mike, if you had to play a slot machine that wasn't video poker, what would you play? I assume you'd pick something that has an advantage, like Ocean Magic, or any other games like this?
Yeah, I would definitely play something where I perceived an advantage, like Ocean's Magic or Golden Egypt, or I would look for the machines with must hit by jackpots and play those only when they're high. But with all of those advantage plays, it involves a lot of trolling around casinos, looking for a machine that does offer an advantage. And when it does, it's lots of times it's only going to be in that advantageous state for a short time. So, but let's say that I wasn't me and I was just absolutely loved playing slots. Then I would just play a simple game as opposed to something that's branded around a TV show or a movie, because those slots tend to pay only 88%, which is really low. Whereas just a simple machine like Coyote Moon or 50 Pandas or whatever it's called is probably going to be higher depending upon the casino that you play at, but that's probably going to be more like 92%. But either way, I would not recommend to anybody to play slots recreationally. It is such an awful bet.
Okay.
So I did say that. Okay. I
So-
think we have one more forum question, by the way.
Yes, let's do another forum question. Upon reflection, upon reflection, I guess. Oh, no, I have to start. I'm sorry. Okay. I noticed looking at your Wizard of Oz site, Oscar's grind compared to the Liberace system in. Did I say that wrong? I didn't know how to pronounce that, and I'm like, that looks like Liberace. I don't know.
Liberace sounds better.
So what was it? How do you say that?
Labouchere.
Oh, I totally butchered that. Okay. So compared to the Labouchere system, in Baccarat, the grind has a 99.46% chance of working with 250 units, while the Labo system has a 99.45% chance with 2,500 units, a pretty big difference. So, 2 questions. Upon reflection, I guess it is not correct to think that 99.45 or 99.46 to be the same thing as a return. But can you go into that? As in, why not? If N is the number of trials, does the chance of a successful session and return tend to see coverage N increase?
Well, the more aggressive the system, like say the martingale, the greater your chances are of achieving whatever your winning goal is. And it's a statistic I don't publish, but if you look at the whole session as just like one great big bet, then that house advantage would really be quite high, because you're grinding through a lot of the same money, circulating it back and forth, which grinds you down. But that's an interesting. Maybe in the future I will indicate what is like the overall return if you consider the whole session as just like one great big bet. But between the Labo share and the Fibonacci and Oscar's grind, it's going to be, they're going to be more or less the same. I tend to think that the Fibonacci is going to have the highest probability of success because I hesitate to answer that off the top of my head, but maybe I will have a better answer next week. In fact, maybe, I'm writing an Ask the Wizard column right now. Maybe I will kind of slip that in, and maybe you'll see an answer to that later today.
Looking forward to that.
Okay.
So we got both of our forum questions done. Awesome.
Who asked the last one, by the way, so I can give proper credit?
Odious Gambit.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All
Next up is from a viewer, and this is from Skill and Luck. Is craps beatable?
Same answer as with Baccarat, without any kind of advantage play or cheating. No.
Okay. Next up, this is from Carl. Why are your websites so unique? I mean, the integrity of it is pretty good. Is that a softball question?
Well, yeah, thanks for the compliment. I would like to think that my goal is to put out truthful information, and I hope, and I'm trying to make gamblers better gamblers, and I'm trying to give people more of an appreciation of math, and if people in the casino learn something along the way, all the better. I'm all in favor of truthful information about anything. And for me, it has never been about making any money. It's, to be honest, it's part of it, but no, my primary goal has been from day one in 1997 is to just put out truthful information about how to gamble as well as possible, and let the chips fall where they may. And I don't like bad mouthing people, and there are other good gambling websites out there, but there are so many that their motive is just to make money through advertising, and that they just will copy legitimate gambling writers like me, or just ramble on about anything. That there's not a whole, that it's not difficult to be one of the better sites when it comes to gambling. Let's put it that way. But yeah, thanks again for the compliment.
Well, I just have to say this real quick. When I was a casino dealer in the early 2000s, your site was hailed as one of the best sites to go to learn all of this information.
I'm happy to hear that.
Hands down, your site is awesome.
Thanks, Heather. I always like to hear that.
So our next one is from Anne, and Anne is giving more of a statement than a question. It's this is about what we were talking about earlier. So she wanted to bring up a couple points.
Mm-hmm.
Anne says, if you don't pay your markers on the casino's terms, they may be a bit flexible, you have to ask, then they will hand this over to the DA as a bad check. At that point, the court may arrange payments with you, but if you do not hold up to your payment agreement, they will press charges and a warrant will be issued for your arrest. The charges pressed against you depends on the amount of the bad check. $3,500 or over is considered a felony. A charge would be issued for you for each casino you owe to.
Well, thanks, Anne. That's really good, specific information that I didn't know. And Anne was the person who I referred to when this came up the first time as the audience member who I knew a lot about this. And so, yeah, thank you so much, Anne. You know much more about this than I do.
That was good information. Thank you.
Yeah.
Much appreciated. Next up is from Joey. A mate of mine got married in Vegas and stayed for our honeymoon. If you're from Vegas, where would you go on your honeymoon?
I went to Hawaii for mine. And I think Hawaii is a really good choice. It's very romantic and beautiful, and there's lots of things. There's so many different things to do, or just have a great time and not doing anything. Just going to the beach or whatever. And furthermore, it's pretty easy to get to Hawaii from Vegas, so it's pretty convenient from the West Coast. I think the West Coast of Mexico, like Cabo San Lucas, is also a good option. What else could I think of? Yeah, those are two places I really like. I'll also throw this out, is I really like the San Juan Islands in Washington State. I think that if you're not looking for a really, I guess adventurous honeymoon, that would be a good place to relax and enjoy the clean air and the scenery and the water and the mountains up there. Yeah, so there's 3 suggestions from me.
Sounds cool. If I was going to go on a honeymoon, I would want to go to Japan near Mount Fuji when the cherry blossom season was going on. So
I've never been to Japan, so can't comment, but it's on my bucket list to climb Mount Fuji.
Yeah. If you go during the cherry blossom season, it's so gorgeous. Mm-hmm. So amazing.
Yeah, I lived in Baltimore for 10 years, and I always liked it when the cherry blossom trees bloomed. And they don't just have them in DC. They have them in a lot of them in that general area.
We tried to have a couple cherry blossoms here in Las Vegas, but it's the desert. They don't do very well out here.
Someone's trying to get my attention. Hold on. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so, okay.
Oh,
next
cool.
question.
Did you get food?
Yes, somebody just delivered me watermelon.
That looks good. That's cool.
Yeah.
So our next question is from Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
What is the house edge for roulette with 3 zeros?
I believe off the top of my head it's 7.89, but let's make sure.
7.69. It's 7.69.
You're right.
I actually have all the roulette house edges memorized. And that's one of the ones where it doesn't change.
Yep.
So next question is from Mystical Child. Looking for a new car, want to get a 2021 in December. Should I go with a Camaro ZL1, 650 horsepower, 70,000, or a Corvette Stingray with 495 horsepower, which is 55,000? Thank you.
I'm not the best one to ask, as I have not had either of those cars. Personally, I don't like the looks of Camaros that much. I like the look of Corvettes better. I don't have any information about the statistics of either one. Yeah, to be honest, I'm kind of loyal to Japanese cars, and especially Toyotas, just mainly because of the dependability factor. I've owned 2 American cars, and both of them just were very undependable. And every time you went in for an oil change, you left $1,000 poor. Found tons of other stuff to do. Yeah, so that's about as far as I can take that.
Okay. So going on to the next question, this is from Mr. Chad. If you have a guest come into town, how do you entertain them? Gambling, shows, what do you do?
It would depend on the guest and any requests that they made, but I like doing outdoorsy stuff. And if I thought they could handle a good hike, I would take them on a good hike, and I would.
You would take them to climb a mountain.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would push them too.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah, I mean, I will try to push people, to kind of like the edge of their limits. I mean, I won't push them too hard, but I would hope they would say by the end of it that, thanks, Mike, that was a good challenge. You wore me out, but I liked it. Something like that. But, a lot of people have absolutely no interest or ability to do that, in which case I was like seeing shows. I kind of miss the Vegas shows. Haven't seen one for a long time.
What was the Las Vegas show you saw?
Let me think. Boy, it's been a long time.
I saw Caw with my friend Jose in February.
You saw what?
Caw with my friend Jose in February.
What's your review of it?
It was really good. It was a really expensive production, but I was a little upset because they have these areas. It's like a pirate, It basically, I was expecting to see a full-on air pirate, sword fight and everything, and I didn't get my air sword fight, and I was a little disappointed.
Yeah. Well, to answer the first question, I think the last show I saw was Jen Cramer's Magic Show.
Oh, cool.
At the Westgate, which I've reviewed it before, but I really liked it. I think that for a cheap ticket, it's a really good choice. I think that Jen Cramer is does a very warm, friendly show. She's very interactive with the audience, and she's happy to post for pictures after the show. So I really enjoyed that. But I saw Caw too a long time ago, and I am not a big Cirque du Soleil person. I think I prefer more of either the Chinese acrobat shows or kind of the parodies like Absinthe.
Really? You liked Absinthe?
I loved Absinthe.
I could not see like that show and you. I just don't put the two together.
Oh, I love that show. I've seen it twice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Highly recommended.
Very cool.
If you have, shall we say, a good sense of humor and
you're okay with the naughty bits.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Those are the best parts.
That's funny. So next up is from Paul. I've read that casinos in Nevada need to reallocate unpaid progressives to other machines if retired. Do you know of other jurisdictions where this is required, or know places where jackpots have just been kept?
All I know is Nevada, and that's absolutely true, that if they want to discontinue a game that has a progressive jackpot, the casino has to take that money and roll it into some other game. And this can be a good advantage play because like sometimes a casino will go out of business. And what they'll do two of things. Like when the Riviera got shut down, they had basically like a big drawing program for all the money in their various progressives. Is they just closed all these games, and then they had a pretty big pool of progressive money. And they basically did a drawing that was based on slot play. And I played video poker like crazy for that. Or if they have sister properties, like they just closed the Colorado Bell in Laughlin, and they took all the progressive money there. And somehow they are putting it in the games in the Edgewater, but I don't know how they're doing it. And I might have the two casinos backwards. So yeah. That's always a good thing to keep your eye on if you're an advantage player with casino closings. And even if it's not a closing, a casino just might get fed up with a game that's not doing well, but it still has a progressive jackpot on it. And they might roll that into some other game. But I really can't speak to how any other jurisdictions do that, to be perfectly honest with you. Somebody was just complaining in my forum that with a particular cruise line, they zero out all the progressive jackpots at the beginning of every cruise, which I kind of don't think is fair. But, in international waters, you can pretty much do whatever you want. So,
good point.
Yeah.
I could say with one casino, I know of one casino where they had a progressive jackpot that they had to do that with. And what they did was, instead of putting that amount into other progressive jackpots, they took that amount and they did giveaways to the players, like a $5,000 giveaway, $10,000 giveaway. And, they gave away a whole bunch of merchandise and money and that type of stuff. And that's how they got rid of the jackpot. Yeah,
basically a roll down.
Okay.
Okay, so we got 4 minutes left. Let's have a few more questions. Somebody wrote Frank Scobletti would disagree. What would he disagree
looking for it.
Oh, yeah, about dice controllers. Yeah, of course he would disagree. And I would disagree with him. All right, but let's get a question.
Okay, so I just scrolled through a whole bunch of questions. If I missed your question, I am sorry. So how are you still a big advocate for Pai Gow Tiles? And this is from Richie.
Yep. And well, to expand on that, I like Pai Gow Tiles because it's a challenging game to play, and I find it really fun, and it's slow paced, low volatility. So if those are things you're looking for, I would recommend it as a good choice. But in terms of just the odds, there are much better games you could be playing. But nevertheless, Pai Gow is still competitive with a house advantage of about 2.5%, and that's when you're not banking. It's basically zero when you are banking.
Okay.
So yeah, I love Pai Gow Tiles. Like, in terms of just the fun factor, Pai Gow Tiles is my favorite game.
Cool. Here's an easy one for you. Do you put salt on your watermelon?
I never even thought about that.
Oh, really?
Just eat it straight.
Oh, now you got to put salt on your watermelon and tell us what you think.
Okay.
Next up, do you think Caribbean stud poker will disappear?
Yes. Yeah, there's already only like 4 tables left in Vegas, and I don't see it other places very often either.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one is definitely going the way of the dodo bird, and the last dodo bird will eventually die off. I don't know, probably within 5 years.
Okay.
You see a lot of it online though, if you miss it.
Next up is, do you know any successful dice controllers?
Zero.
None.
Absolutely zero.
And you've been doing this a long time.
That are like proven, that can prove to me that they can do it. All I hear is a lot of vague stories and people that don't go by a real name. I've yet to see any credible evidence that anyone can do this on a sustained basis. Happy to entertain such evidence, though.
Next up is from Craps Strategies. I heard that in London Casino has a better craps payout, where they're paying 33 to 1 on the hard hop bets, 7.5 to 1 on the hard ways, etc., plus the don't place bets. How can we possibly get a Las Vegas casino to improve their payouts? That
is absolutely true. In the UK, as well as I believe in Australia, they do offer those generous odds and craps. How to get those Vegas casino to offer them? I don't think anyone will. I mean, they could if they wanted to, but they're just not going to want to. It's been proven time and time again that when casinos make their odds more liberal, players don't appreciate it. Like, I saw that the D recently, the D had 4% commission Baccarat, and they told me they didn't know of a single person to go in there and play for that reason. That most players unfortunately for them, just play a game that they like and they're comfortable with the limits. And 000 roulette is a perfect example of this. There is no rational reason to play that game, especially when you can easily find 000 roulette at the same limits. People just plop themselves down and play anything.
I've been in some Las Vegas casinos where, I kid you not, they have a 000 roulette table here and a 0 roulette table right next to it. And the 000 is completely filled with people and the 0 has no people at all. And I'm just sitting there like, are you serious?
You know, every time I go to the Venetian, where they have 000 roulette, they'll usually have like 1 or 2 of those and a bunch of 000s. And they're usually all at the same minimum, but you'll always see more people on the 000 game. I can just, I can just throw up my hands and just say, it's your money, waste it if you want to.
Yep.
But yeah, there's not that much of a competitive environment in terms of odds here in Vegas. So I don't think we will ever see that, unfortunately, here in Vegas.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we hit the 4 o'clock mark. Is there anything else you wanted to let the audience know before we wrap this up?
I can't really think of anything. I'll talk about the results of my IQ test next week. And yeah, so thanks audience for coming. Thanks for participating. Thanks for all your questions. Thanks for just watching. And thanks, Heather, as always, for joining me and putting this all together.
I always enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's end on that. So bye, audience. Bye, Heather.
Bye, guys. Bye, Mike. See ya.
See ya.